Girlfriends, episode number 397, 7 Ways to Save Money This Month. Hello and welcome to Girlfriends. I'm Danielle Bean. I'm a wife and a mom, and I'm on a mission to help you know your worth as a woman so you can find peace, balance, and joy in family living. This week, we are talking about some money-saving ideas. I think everybody needs that. Let's get started. Hey, girlfriend. Thank you so much for being here. Glad you can join me for the newest episode of the Girlfriends podcast. Always thrilled to have you here. If you're a new listener, I want to give you a special welcome. Thanks so much for checking us out. Hope you're going to like what we share here and come back for more. We'd love to have you as a new member of our Girlfriends community. If you're sometimes or all the time listener, welcome back. You know, I love these opportunities for us to be able to connect right here in the podcast every week. So this week we're talking about money saving ideas. But before we dive into that, I want to let you know about an exciting event that's upcoming from Good Catholic. Over at Good Catholic, we have an offering for a virtual Advent retreat. Yes, Advent is right around the corner. You need a plan for what you're going to do spiritually this season, and this is it. It's going to be taking place on Saturday, December 2nd. So that's the Saturday right before Advent gets started. It's going to be from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern time. And our main presenter and host is going to be Father Jeffrey Kirby, who you know from the Morning Offering podcast. He's been a guest here on the podcast before. I've had the opportunity to do lots of good work with him over at Good Catholic. And I just know you're going to enjoy this retreat. He's going to be the host and the main presenter. But another presenter we have as well is Tish Oxenrider, who's an author that we've had here on the podcast before. She came on to talk about Lent, and I loved what she shared about the season of Lent. She's a convert. She's got a fascinating story with her family. And I love so much what she shared about Lent that I was excited to see that she also had a book about Advent. And I loved what she had to share about Advent. So I think you're going to really enjoy this retreat. It's going to be 2 hours. That's going to include presentations, time for live Q&A, and time for praying together. A little bit of a respite, pulling away from the busyness of your life. I know you've got a lot going on, but this virtual retreat is a flexible option for you. You don't have to take time out of your day and get over to your parish for a retreat, although it's great if you have that option this Advent season. But this is something you can do on your own time as well. If you're not available on December 2nd, from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern time, of course, if you can make it, it's really fun to have that live interaction, have an opportunity to participate in the live Q&A part of the retreat as well. But if you're not able to, you can still participate in the retreat. You can watch it later. You always get a recorded video of the event after these Good Catholic events. So that's a nice way that you can kind of make it work on your schedule. So for more information and to register, you can't participate if you don't register. Get on over to goodcatholic.com/Advent. We'll have all of the information for you available there. All right. This week's topic. Okay, why am I talking about saving money? Well, because I hear from people all the time, and I experience this on my own as well, that have trouble sticking to a budget. And I am not the budget queen. We've had money masters on here as kind of resident experts for the Girlfriends podcast before, but that's not something I would ever say has been my gift. Like, I am not like the spreadsheet budget queen. Like, that's not me. But I do recognize the fact that many people are on very tight budgets these days because of inflation, for example. Hello? Like, it is crazy. And I don't have to tell you that because I know that you have a grocery bill as well. And, you know, the other day I took a picture and I texted it to my family because I found at the grocery store this jar of mayonnaise that was $9. A $9 jar of mayonnaise. I was like, how good is this mayonnaise? It's the same mayonnaise that we were buying for half that amount, you know, not very long ago. So I know we're all feeling that pinch. And then with the holidays right around the corner, really budgets are going to be very tight this year. And so I thought, let's talk about some everyday ways to save money, because this is something I certainly can speak to from experience. So if you're just looking to, you know, make your budget work for these next couple of months here as we're going into the holidays, and maybe you're going to have additional expenses. You know, before we talk about some of these tips, and none of them are going to be groundbreaking, earth-shattering ideas, but just some things to kind of remind you of, and maybe to encourage you to set a goal of saving some money in the next few months. Maybe it's not something that's been top of mind for you, but you really know that it's something that maybe you need to make a priority. And this can be your reminder to do that. It can be a little bit of an encouragement to do exactly that. One time when I heard somebody talking about budgets and making your family budget work years ago, I found it really interesting because this person said, if you're feeling like you can't make ends meet, then you either need to figure out how to make more money or how to spend less. And maybe some combination of the two. And I don't know, for some reason that really struck me as like, that's a very simple way of approaching it. And it kind of like took what can sometimes feel like a very complex problem, like, oh, I'm not making ends meet, we're not making it kind of feeling, and made it kind of concrete. Like, okay, let's look for some ways to do that. Right. So maybe that is you. Maybe you're feeling kind of out of control with your budget, and, just beginning with some basic information about how much money you're spending and where it's going can kind of help you assess, like, are there ways we could make more money? Are there ways we could spend less money? And so this week, we're focused on the spending less part, and not in huge ways, but in small ways, little ways. And so I've got 7 ideas that I'm going to share with you here. The first one is to do a no spend challenge. Okay. I once read a book, and I'm forgetting the name of the author, but it's called A Year of Less. And this person spent a year trying not to buy anything beyond like basic groceries that she needed and other kinds of, she made a list of what were the essentials, but she had realized that she had this bad habit of kind of recreational shopping, materialism, that she was too attached to that kind of thing. And this was a way that she decided to kind of create her own intervention for those things. And the book is really fascinating. I do recommend it. I'll put a link in the show notes. Let me make that note to myself. Okay. Because it really did help to look at like some of the ways that our culture kind of celebrates spending, expects spending. And this young woman, as she was kind of going through this challenge for a year, I mean, that's daunting. You don't have to do a year. But, some of her kind of self-reflection during that time was really interesting and challenging, I think, for many of us that live in this culture today. So maybe you don't want to go a year. Maybe you don't want to commit to a year. It's okay. It doesn't have to be that big a deal. Maybe you want to commit to a month. Maybe you want to do a week. Like, see how you spend. And this can be really eye-opening, because if you decide to commit to a specific number of days where you're not going to be spending beyond what you must spend, like you still, should probably pay your mortgage, and you probably still need to put gas in your car. But pick a specific number of days for like a no spend challenge. And this is like for those little extra things that you tend to spend on, maybe buying tickets to something, maybe, just buying a coffee when you're out, or going to TJ Maxx and just picking up who even knows what, or you're at the pharmacy to pick up a prescription and you just collect like 6 or 7 different things in your basket as you're kind of walking through the aisles. Like those things, the expendable expenses, set a period of time and really kind of challenge yourself. And something a really good thing that can come out of this, however long you decide to do it, is that you become more aware of what your spending habits are. You become more aware of the ways in which you kind of reflexively spend money without ever even pausing to think about it. This can really cause you to pause and look at the ways that you're spending money, and ultimately maybe decide forever you don't want to spend money in some of these particular ways. This young woman who wrote that book, A Year of Less, that I'm referencing, there were things she never went back to. And it really was a life-changing decision for her to kind of try out a year of not spending like that. And there might be habits that you could break, things that you do regularly that you think, actually, that's not worth it. And you realize the benefit of that kind of no spend challenge. And, this is something I've done even with regard to groceries before. I remember, especially when the kids were little, there were sometimes then when the budget was really tight and there just wasn't the budget to get back to the grocery store, or I didn't want to make another trip to the grocery store because let's face it, the number of times you go to the grocery store, you're going to be spending a little bit extra every time. Those kind of impulse purchases, you're always at risk for that. So like limiting how often you're going to the grocery store, and you can kind of stretch that time in between in creative ways. You might have some funny meals, but I mean, many of us have like, a fully stocked pantry or freezer or refrigerator. And it's stuff that we don't think to really eat. Maybe there's like leftover stuff. Maybe there's, something that you bought and you thought you would make, or you forgot about what's in your freezer, or there's stuff in the back of your pantry. There's canned goods in there that you don't even remember. So it kind of can be a nice challenge to make yourself go for a specific period of time, trying to stretch that time in between grocery runs. And Maybe your family's going to complain. I don't know. But maybe they might like the challenge of being a little bit creative about how you're eating. Most of us, if we admit it, will recognize that we really are very privileged and we have plenty of food, and it's not strictly necessary to go grocery shopping quite as often as we do. So that might be part of what you challenge yourself to do with kind of a no spend challenge, is to just extend that period of time between grocery runs. All right. That's the no spend challenge. The second one is wait. Now, this is related to the first one, but you're not telling yourself no. So like, you're kind of impulsive Amazon purchases, for example, where if there's something that you think you want, that you think you need, just wait. I don't know, pick the days. Like you might have like a 30-day rule. If it's something that's not strictly necessary, but you think, oh, that might be really good to have. I might really like that. That might be very convenient. That, might be necessary to my life in some way, but, just pause before you buy something like that. You can put it in your save for later in Amazon, or if it's an in-store purchase, you can make a note of it somewhere and not go back to it for 30 days. You will be surprised by how often, if you do revisit these things like 30 days later, you don't actually need that thing. You've moved on. You've got a different thing of the week that you're kind of looking for. And, this is something that I've really seen as kind of like an American habit anyway, where people definitely make purchases on Amazon, but also in person in stores for things that they don't really need and kind of end up collecting. I just recently did a clean out in my bedroom, and I thought I had actually recently done this, but apparently it's been long enough that I found several things where I was like, oh my gosh, remember I bought this thing? Like I completely forgot about it. Just random stuff that you don't really need, you don't really use. I had this diffuser in there that I used a little bit, like, a little over a year ago. Haven't really used it. I was like, I really should just get rid of this, right? It's just taking up space. So rather than having to declutter later, maybe give yourself the gift of just pausing before making purchases like that. Because when you go back, and you always can go back. You're not telling yourself no, you're telling yourself wait. And when you go back, you might be surprised by the fact that you don't actually need that stuff. It was kind of eye-opening for me during COVID when we were all kind of locked down and I wasn't making those regular trips out to stores. I wasn't making the regular trip out to the pharmacy. Especially pharmacy comes to mind because I found we were saving a ton of money. We were saving a ton of money without even really realizing what we were giving up, right? It's like the random makeup that you might buy or that shirt that you saw that's kind of cute or whatever. Like you don't really feel it on a day-to-day basis if you're not making those kinds of purchases. So, kind of be aware of how often you're putting yourself in a position where you're going to be tempted or kind of fall into that habit of just picking up and impulsively buying things that you don't necessarily need. But if you do think you need it, just hit the pause button. You don't have it right now. You're surviving. You're still breathing in and out. Your heart's beating in your chest, even without that precious thing that you want to put in your cart. Like, just wait. I also realized this many years ago when Dan and I were first married and had our first kids, we were living in an apartment in a city in southern New Hampshire. And then we moved up here where we live kind of in the country. And it was pretty far to get to a Target or a Walmart, let me tell you. And that was a change that I definitely felt like, I realized I was going to those kinds of stores less often because it was so far. It was like, are you going to make an hour trip to go to Target? Not every day of the week for sure. And it made me realize just how much I was in the habit of being in places like that, how much I expected to be in places like that, but then also how much, if I thought I needed something at one of those places, I was kind of keeping a running list and like, yeah, next time we go to one of those kinds of stores, these are the things I need. But I would find that as I was waiting longer in between these trips, by the time I went to them, I'd see my list and be like, yeah, actually, I don't think I need that. Right. So give yourself that gift of hitting the pause button. Just wait. 30 days is a great one to aim for. But if you don't think you can do that, do 2 weeks. Give yourself that chance to reconsider, realize that it's not actually an essential in your life anyway, and then be limiting how often you're going to those places. And that'll give you the chance to save a bunch of money as well. All right. Next tip is to download some apps that can save you money. There are tons of them. Not all of them are going to work for you, but I mean, there are some really great ones and some really clever ones. There are some that will, as you're making purchases, will round up your purchases and take that little bit of change every time and move it into a savings for you in some separate account. I've never experimented with those, but I love the idea. I think it's a really great idea. There's one that I do use is Rocket Money. And like we have our mortgage through Rocket. And so it's just, I had an account there anyway. And I downloaded the Rocket Money app. And what I love about it is that it really very simply shows you where you are spending money and has an easy way to unsubscribe from things. So I became very aware of the fact, like if we had duplicate expenses, like sometimes in a crazy household like this, like we'll realize, oh, we've got two subscriptions to the same thing or whatever, or this subscription to something that we never use and we never meant to use. And we signed up for the free trial and completely forgot about it, right? Stuff like that. It can automate kind of going through that and assessing where you are spending your money. So I really like that one. There are apps that will like check gas prices for you, find you a special deal if you use that app and shop at, a particular store or get your gas at a particular gas station, things like that. So look for apps that can help you to save money. Look for one that's going to fit with your personality type. I think a lot of people enjoy the Chime one. I think that's one of those ones that rounds up for you, but I think it has other features as well. But just do a little bit of searching in the App Store and find some that you might want to use. Like give yourself the gift of more information, the ease of technology, making some of these things automated is kind of an easy and a natural way to just be looking at saving money. And what I love is to find an app that shows you clearly where you are spending your money or makes it obvious where you are spending your money and or makes it challenging for you to spend beyond your budget. So there's some that can like restrict your kind of spending in certain areas. All kinds of apps out there. So find one that works for you because there's not, I mentioned I like the Rocket Money one, but that you might not like that one. Find one that works with your personality, with your particular temperament or your spending habits, and just make technology work for you. There are amazing things that you can do with apps these days. And I think just finding some can actually turn it, kind of gamify it a little bit, makes it a little bit more fun, turns it into an activity that you might even feel challenged in and kind of enjoy, whether it's tracking your savings or tracking your discounts on things, making sure you're getting the best deal. Or tracking your shopping habits. I think that's a really helpful way to kind of make it a little bit more fun for you. And apps are a great way to do that. All right. Next tip. And this is something that my parents recently did, which is declutter and sell. So my parents recently thought they were going to be selling their house. They were going to be moving. They wanted to move into a smaller place, blah, blah, blah. They wound up not for a bunch of reasons, but they actually still benefit from this thing that they did, which was go through their house that they raised all of us in. There's a lot of stuff that had been collected there over the years, different things that they didn't ever even use and some furniture and that sort of thing. And they made it kind of a challenge and kind of fun going through and selling this stuff on Facebook Marketplace, on Craigslist, finding, different things that, and some people use eBay for this. I've never done that. I think there's a little bit more of a step involved if you're shipping things, right? But looking for stuff like appliances or maybe old bookcases or pieces of exercise equipment or stuff that your kids used to enjoy. Toys is a big one, or baby equipment, or even gently used clothing, stuff that you have that you can declutter. This is the extra bonus benefit of this, right? You're decluttering, you're getting rid of stuff that you don't need, and you can make a little bit of extra cash by doing this. And I find this is a really nice way to, first of all, declutter, but second of all, be like recycling in a way, right? Getting these things into the hands of people who can use them, can benefit from them. If you don't want the extra cash, of course, you can always do these things and donate them. But if you're looking to save money, if you're looking to like make a little bit of extra cash, then, that's a really easy way that you can do that. So look around your house. What is the stuff? Like, where are the closets where you store the stuff? Like, go through it and see what's actually in there and that you might not mind parting with, and you can make a little bit of extra money on the side with that. All right, next one. Try some extra meatless days. Oh my gosh, did you just faint because I said that? We're very attached to our meat meals in this country. But if you're Catholic, then you probably already, many people abstain from meat on Fridays, not just during Lent. Fridays are meant to be a day of sacrifice throughout the year. And many people, just to simplify that, will abstain from meat year round. And the nice little side benefit of eating less meat is that it can be significantly less expensive. So maybe look at a different day in your week. Maybe you want to have a meatless Monday, right? Make it a little bit fun, make it a little bit of a challenge for you and your family. And, that can really reduce your grocery budget and make it, also can be very healthy. There are lots of meatless meals that are very healthy for you and your family. And, plant-based meals are very, very popular. There are all kinds of different options for vegetarian meals, but some of the basics, right? You're already familiar with them because of Fridays during Lent, whether it's seafood or pasta or salads or, pizza, all of these things. They can all be significantly cheaper than a meat-based meal. Another option would be to just buy a little bit less meat, and you can still plan your regular meals, but plan them with less meat. Like maybe the amount of meat that you usually would use for one meal, use it over the course of 2 meals in some creative way. Just finding ways to eat less meat can be very healthy and ultimately can save you some money, save you a little bit on your grocery bill. All right. The next meal planning related one that I want to mention is meal planning. Just the planning part. I know you're dying because I said that. I feel the same. Like this is one of those jobs. I mean, some people love meal planning, but this is one of those things that I have never enjoyed. Like it feels like such homework for me to sit down and plan meals. And I've had whole seasons of my life where I refused to do it and would just it's kind of chaos, right? I would go to the grocery store, buy basics for making multiple meals. I mean, and I enjoy cooking and I have some of the basics down. So I would know if I get these basic ingredients, I'm going to manage to make a meal, a few times this week. But I've also had times in my life where I was going to the grocery store 3-4 times a week, because I just couldn't bring myself to do the planning involved to get the ingredients for multiple days. And that's not a great way to save money because every time you go to the grocery store, it's going to cost you more. So planning your meals is a great way to kind of look at what might be some cheaper options for planning your meals, what might be some of the more budget friendly meal plans you could make, and then actually having the ingredients in the house. You don't have to be running out to the store and then, oh, you see this and that, and oh, this would be nice, and I'll pick this up. And yeah, your bill really gets added to every single time you go to the store, unless you're really good with the willpower at kind of avoiding those kinds of situations. But planning ahead and then batch cooking or doing a little bit of the meal prep ahead of time can really be a great way to make you feel good about making that meal plan and, avoiding going to the grocery store quite so often. 2 of my daughters shared with me recently, the ones who are married, that they go to the grocery store every 2 weeks. And I was so impressed because I don't think I've ever done that. I've never been that good about it. I know some people who shop once a month, prep a lot, batch prep a lot of different meals and put them in the freezer. Good for you. That is not me. I'm never going to be that person. But some version of that, a really scaled back version of that, could be planning ahead and, cooking a lower cost meal and making a lot of it and putting it into the freezer. So you'll have another one next week when, you're planning your meals for next week. But finding ways to plan ahead, meal planning is really a great way to be saving you money. Because, the other thing that I haven't even mentioned yet is the other consequence of not planning meals is that sometimes you'll find yourself and it's 5 p.m., everybody's hungry and you're like, I don't have a clue. I know I have some stuff in the fridge, but it's just easier to pick up something or do a last minute run out to the grocery store, get something that's mostly prepared or get takeout or, these are not money saving options, right? These are ways of really spending money that you don't need to spend. So put in that little bit of effort. And I'm talking to myself as much as you here because I need the reminder too that planning meals ahead of time can be a really great way to save money, and it reduces your number of trips to the grocery store. But also the other side benefit of it that's not even money related is that it gives you peace of mind. I mean, gosh, on the times in my life where I've been pretty good about meal planning, I really reap that benefit of just the peace of knowing there's a plan for dinner. And maybe if your plan for dinner includes like a little bit of prep of vegetables or some side dish, maybe you're able to do that ahead of time, like earlier in the day or the night before. Like these things really make life easier and a lot less stressful. And we're sometimes our own worst enemy when we're avoiding the work of meal planning. It can cause a lot more work, time, stress, and money in the end. So look for ways to encourage yourself to be planning your meals ahead of time. All right. Last tip I want to mention that can save you money is, do you use your library? I'm not just talking about books here, but let's start with books, because how many of us will download a book on Audible or buy a book on Amazon? Super simple, right? Like I know I've done this a million times. I'll hear an author on a podcast or something and be like, oh, I really want to check out that book, and I'll download it right away, or I'll click and have it delivered to my house from Amazon the next day. We're so used to this kind of instant gratification in this way, but going to your library, you can get any book you want. Again, it's free. Like I was recently in one of our local libraries, which was recently renovated, and I couldn't believe everything that was in there, because it goes far beyond just books. And you know this, like I'm sure even your very small little town libraries have more than just books available. Some things that I've seen at libraries, of course, include things like, video access. A lot of libraries have not Audible, but Libby, which is a different app for audiobooks. I've used that before, completely free. You do have to be a little bit patient and kind of wait your turn and put in a request for certain titles if they're very popular. But, also, just the hard copies of books. Like if your library doesn't have it, you can request it from another library and get it through your library. It's actually amazing. And it's free. So looking for ways to save on books that you might enjoy that way, but other stuff that, other libraries have. I remember seeing at a library years ago, like these kind of like toy bags, and you could check out like this bag of, whether it was Legos or gosh, I don't even know what all the popular toys are now these days, but something that maybe you wouldn't necessarily want to buy for your kid. This is a nice way to try out toys. It's a nice way to have a variety of toys, because sometimes that's all they want is like something different to play with. And it can be tempting to just buy the thing, but libraries a lot of times will have toys that you can check out. They will have, one thing that I saw that was really interesting at my local library was that you could check out a telescope. And that's really cool, right? And, so if my little library here has these innovative things, I'm sure yours has it too. So check out what's available at your library, what's available for free, even classes you can take or clubs that you might be a part of, things that you might otherwise pay for with regard to like entertainment or taking courses can all be available to you for free at your library. And you know this, but for some reason we kind of push that off, or we don't think about it, day to day. And we go for the easy option, which is to like pick up our phone in a couple of clicks. We own the thing. But let me tell you, I have bought a lot of books that I did regret buying, and I end up just donating them or throwing them away. And that's terrible. But if it's not a great book, that's a significant investment sometimes, especially if you're buying a hardcover book. For sure, you're always going to have some books that you want to own yourself. But for these day-to-day things, or for checking out the latest title from a new author or something, try your library first. There are so many ways that you can save money by doing that first. All right, those are my tips for you. Let me just go back through and repeat them to review here. First of all, do a no-spend challenge, whether it's 30 days or 10 days, or a year. You could go for a year. Challenge yourself in that way. Number 2, wait before making a purchase, a non-essential purchase. Just wait and see if you still need it after a length of time. Number 3, check out some apps that can be fun, that can kind of make it a challenge to save money, can kind of help you and inform you about how you are spending money. Number 4, declutter and sell. Double win. Declutter and sell. All right. Number 5, have meatless Mondays or some other day of the week. Look for ways to eat less meat. And that can be a great way to save on your grocery bill. Number 7, plan your meals. Make yourself do that work. Give yourself the gift of peace of mind and a little bit of a more organized schedule in addition to the money savings that you'll realize. And then finally, use your local library. Go in there. If you haven't been in a while, go and check out what they might have to offer. But I bet you have some money saving tips that you want to share with me. You guys are always so creative and inventive, and you've got the best ideas. So I would love to hear from you. You can email me, Danielle@daniellebean.com. If you are watching this on YouTube, you can just leave me a comment down below or over at goodcatholic.com. I always love to hear from you and have your feedback. All right, we've got more of the show coming up for you in just a minute, but first we're going to take a quick break. I'm Danielle Bean, and you're listening to the Girlfriends Podcast.
I invite you to sign up for the Good Catholic series, The Heavenly Table, for 3 reasons. Number 1, it's because if we don't yearn for the heavenly table, then I don't know what you'd be eating. And trust me, there are terrible alternatives. It's going to be about the recipes that bring your families closer together. Yes, we will be talking about food, but in a unique way, a powerful way, because we are what we eat. Secondly, it'll be practical, ways that you can truly make the family meal a sacred experience in the same way the Lord invites you to his heavenly banquet at the table. You can invite him to your domestic church's altar, the dinner table. And the third reason, you are going to experience the joy of being fed by God. Let's admit, there's a lot of stuff and a lot of junk that we eat, spiritual junk food. We need bite-sized theology of God's goodness. So make sure you join us for our Good Catholic series, The Heavenly Table.
Welcome back. Now we're at the point in the show where I share a little bit of listener feedback from you. And this week I got a voice message from Lisa.
Hi, Danielle. This is Lisa from upstate New York. I wanted to comment on how I am able to make my day a little more Catholic by listening to Catholic radio. For quite a while, we didn't have any of those kind of broadcasts around here, but some years ago, one started up. It's still pretty small townish in the way it operates, but it introduced me to Catholic radio. And I'll tell you what, some days the Sunrise Morning Show is what gets me out of bed in the morning. I love that program, but there's lots of other programming too that's been great. We love Jimmy Akin's Mysterious World, just for an example. But I now know that with today's technology, I can stream it too. So that has made a big difference in my life, having something really great to listen to, including your podcast. I always look forward to it. Thanks for everything you do. Bye.
Thank you so much for that message, Lisa. First of all, for leaving the voice message in the first place. I'm thrilled to hear your voice. And I always love when people are able to leave me a voice message. And I appreciate you sharing about Catholic radio because I share that passion and enthusiasm for Catholic radio, especially Sacred Heart Radio and the Sunrise Morning Show. I'm on there once a week with Anna Mitchell. Anna has been here a guest on the Girlfriends podcast a couple of different times now. And I just love her and I love the show and I support everything they're doing. And you're so right, Lisa, that apps can make it easier to listen to these and everybody can have access to them. The Relevant Radio app that I really enjoy that one for listening to Catholic radio because not everybody has access to these. Like if you go in your car, maybe you have a local Catholic radio station, but maybe you don't. And if you don't, these apps can make it really easy to just stream it from anywhere. You can listen on your phone. You can listen in the car. You can listen on your computer. So check out these different websites. You can go to sacredheartradio.com to find out all the innovative ways that you can listen and make the Sunrise Morning Show. And there are other great offerings over there, part of your everyday. The Relevant Radio app, too, is a really great one for listening live to whatever show they've got going on. Once a month, I'm a guest on the Morning Air show over there, and I love being a part of that. It's always a great conversation. But the other thing I appreciate about the Relevant Radio app is that it gives me some audio prayers. I mean, they have a ton of resources on there, but this is one that I use all the time. That there's an audio version of the Rosary on there that I especially like. There is the Divine Mercy Chaplet. There are other basic Catholic prayers. And I find that's a really helpful way to just, be praying on the go. You can play it in your car. I sometimes will play it if I'm going out for a walk or if I'm just, doing some work at home or something. I have it on in the background. It's really a great way to add a little bit more of your Catholic faith to your everyday. So thank you so much, Lisa, for listening and for sharing that great tip. Finding always new ways to make every day a little bit more Catholic. All right, we almost have to wrap up here, but before we go, I want to remind you of that Advent retreat. Go over to goodcatholic.com/Advent to find out more about our annual offering of an Advent retreat. So this is a virtual retreat. You can join us from wherever you are in the world. We would love to have you be a part of this. It's going to be taking place on Saturday, December 2nd from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Our main presenter and host is going to be Father Jeffrey Kirby from the Morning Offering podcast. And our other presenter is going to be Tish Oxenrider, a Catholic mom and wife and author who really has a depth of knowledge about our faith traditions. And they're both going to be adding a little bit more peace to your Advent. It's a wonderful way to prepare yourself and get yourself ready to really connect with God during this Advent season. Really connect with a sense of inner stillness, especially during a time of year that can be so busy, so distracting, so filled with noise. This Advent retreat is an opportunity to step away and really come closer to Jesus during the days that lead us up toward Christmas. So go to goodcatholic.com/Advent to get all the information and make sure you are registered for this unique event. That's all the time we have for today, but I want to thank you for being here and being a part of the Girlfriends podcast. I know you're busy. I know you've got a lot going on, a lot of different hats that you wear, a lot of different things that are vying for your time and attention. So it really means the world to me that you spend this little bit of time with me here each week. I don't take that for granted, and I'm so grateful that you are a part of the Girlfriends community. Thanks so much for being here. And until next time, I hope you enjoy your day and God bless your week.